My story begins in earnest in 1891, during the month of February. Her Majesty, the unseen Queen of fallen London, has many things that need doing. She leaves those to the Admiralty, and the Admiralty leaves it to sailors such as myself. I inherited a small ship, the last of my father's. He took, of course, his pride and joy with him east. I decided to name it the Suncatcher, after my father's will towards me. The first thing I did, of course, was to ensure that my ancestral home would stay safe and out of the hands of the masters of the bazaar, so I drafted a will before heading out to sea. My surgeon, who I'd met within the tavern and during my philosopher's days, he was coming with me. Odd obsession with bodies, that one. He wants to go to the Chelonet, where they have bodies of all sorts. Men, women, children, beasts of every size and shape. The lorn fluke, the eel, the bound shark. Truly an unsettling man. I could care less, though, so long as he keeps us alive. The Admiralty, in their infinite wisdom, had a spy in Corsair's forest where the pirates lay, and wanted me to find him in Gator's Morn, to retrieve some information. It's very difficult to understand why they would even go there. Ironically enough, I found that my father's great cannon, the Memento Mori, could not fit upon my mighty Suncatcher, so I bought the Denunciation, a smaller cannon, but it will do the job. I sometimes stare at the Memento Mori in the hold as we get ready for departure. Once we hit the Z, I decided to play with the ferret I'd acquired in the bazaar. Charming little beast, barely ever moves. His eye flicker seems to indicate that he has scorn for me. Damn your play, it is as if to say. The Z is cruel and unusual, but it is not all bad. An island near London, Hunter's Keep, always caught my eye when I was spying from the shores. So I went there to take a look at what was going on. There's but a single house there. I saw three sisters inside. One of them was playing the piano, melancholy and sorrowful, and the other two, they seemed to be watching the fire or reading a book. One sister talked of the end for them. One of them dying, one of them living. It's difficult to understand the meaning, so I did the proper thing. I talked to their topaz-eyed maid, a clear sign of demon lineage, and introduced myself. Of course, they get so little news out here that they were overjoyed to see a Z captain such as myself. I chose to speak with Cynthia, the noisy one. Her tale was unusual, to say the least. We had lunch together, though it nearly turned my stomach. Not the food, of course. Cynthia talked of a great axe murderer, waking up in the middle of the night, an axe above your head, and then blood. Needless to say, it put me off my food, though she was kind enough to let me take it with me. My sailors can have it. I think that I will go without for a few days. On the way to Venderbite to deliver our tomb colonist, a pirate steamer came into sight. The poor fool. Though I had little experience of fighting on the Z, my father had taught me well. The Denunciation made quick work of them. Ironically, their hold was full of spider silk from the sorrow spiders in the Nativity. Ugh, the thought of that place. The tales that I've heard make my skin crawl as if it itself is infested with sorrow spiders. The rest of my trip to Venderbite was uneventful. The tomb colonists was overjoyed to arrive at their new home, though they were anxious for a friend. They asked if I could find them in the mangrove college, far to the south and to the east. If I'm in the area, perhaps I will take a look. I had coffee, a bit dusty and with a bit of stale treats, at a nearby cafe. Everything is stale and dusty in the tomb colonies, where only the dead lie. Though not a great meal, it heightened my spirits a good deal more than the axe murderer's tale. I sold what mushroom wine I had. Say what you will of the undead, they do enjoy their booze and their liquor. I made a small profit off of it. Ironically, before I decided to head out, I'd heard tales of the first curator, the master of the tomb colonies. He was looking for a sailor to carry out his bidding. I went to his mansion, where his obsequious butler let me in. The light of the room was... There was no light. I saw but a tiny figure, a tiny silhouette, curled together on a sofa, like a baby about to be born, or about to die. It spoke to me in a raspy voice. "Colors! Need colors! Reward you!" The voice made my very soul quake. But if there is anything a Z captain must be prepared for, it is to do what he must to make a profit. So I nodded. He gave me a small book called the Neathbow, with the different colors he wanted. Nothing like I'd ever seen or heard before, but who can say? Perhaps I will find them on my way. I continued north. I was not content with just a simple trip to Venderbite. I wanted to explore a bit. I came in contact with Whiter, though not before meeting a few lifebergs. The sentient icebergs love to ram their way into ships. I escaped under cover of fog, and found my way into this cold, desolate, religious town. The place annoyed me to no end. I tried to get information, but every question is answered with another question. The salt wind licks at my face, and I wonder if the gods are watching, if perhaps they're laughing at me. A sign under a bridge. There is a sea more sunless than this. The world is indeed a crazy place. Within spitting distance of Whiter, I found Codex. It is a place of mute exiles. Though the monster hunters gather here for their last crusades, I was more than happy to be free of the questioning fools. The mute exiles make decent company. I traveled farther to the east. The scent of sulfur rang in my nose like an unholy foghorn. Mount Palmerston came into sight. The volcano is a place where Hell's exiles might rest, and where those willing to make fuel and the crafts of the underworld find good work. I climbed the mountain to get a better look, and found a tiny cottage there. A topaz-eyed woman smiled calmly to me and asked if I would want tea. A deviless. My father had told me about that. If you are not finding a devil in London or in the Iron Republic, then you are probably safe. Probably. Against my crew's better judgment, I had tea with her. She was searching for something. Perhaps something to remind her of home. Something to remember. I decided to keep going, buying some cheap fuel from there. After all, it's the next closest place to hell. What better place to buy fire? A snowstorm beset me, with only the Ragged Crow, a tiny lighthouse in the east, to keep me company. I plowed onward until I found Frostbound. I'd heard tales of such a place, but two massive castles connected by a majestic arch, a bridgeway. It was as beautiful as it was imposing. It was almost life-draining. The cold there was terrible. A strange young man with long hair and glasses greeted me at the docks, his teeth chattering. He looked as if he'd just been through hell itself. He asked if I had need of a mechanic. I had, so I put him to work at my engines. Not before I had tea with the squatters, though. They told me of the secrets hidden within there. Secrets within yourself, secrets of others. Frostbound is a place of secrets. They were quite kind. Though secret seekers, they were good people. Pressing on, I found one thing that my father had ingrained into me in his Tales of the Z, the avid horizon, the ancient gateway with its silent, stony watchers. The gate leads towards eternity, heaven, beyond, the abyss, another world. There's no way to know, for the gate opens not for anyone. I felt a quick surge as my heart leapt and I looked through the store. My luck had run dry, but not before I'd found several supplies and a most unsettling device. It looked to be a skull, but it had no sockets for eyes. It was almost as if they had grown over it, the bone. Yet, if the teeth could chatter, it seemed as if there was a strange light within them. Something unlike anything I'd seen before, an unusual color, perhaps. I tucked it away. Perhaps someone would find a use for it. As I put my hand to the gate to examine it, my eyes strayed to a hunter, frozen in their place in this icy hell. They had plucked their own eye out and was holding it gingerly. It took some skill, but I managed to take the eye, which now glowed like some sort of unholy gem. It too bore an unusual color. A treasure like this would find a home somewhere. I had to press back. Fuel and supplies were low. If I could make Palmerston, I'd be able to make it home.